Hello and welcome! Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Deltran, and we are doing some Fire Emblem Heroes stuff, but today we're not actually playing the game. We're taking a look at the Fire Emblem Heroes Mass Duel Simulator, made in the community. This thing is awesome. This tool is the reason why I am anywhere near good at all at this game. I have always enjoyed creating heroes. I used to play D&D back in the day, and I would sometimes just make characters just for the fun of it. It was like its own mini game that you would play before you got to play the actual game, and it was just so fun getting to make heroes and characters, and that they would do all kinds of crazy combos or maximize things. It was just so much fun. And that's just extended on all the way up to this point where in Fire Emblem Heroes, especially now with skill inheritance, you could do all kinds of great builds and optimize things or try to get quirky little things to go off. And one thing I have seen all throughout forums and Reddit are all these questions about like, oh, well, okay, well, what's better for this hero? Or what do you do with this hero? What do you put on that hero? And you know what? There's been plenty of times whenever I've been busy and I don't have time to figure this stuff out. I unfortunately have to focus on things other than Fire Emblem Heroes, which is garbage. But in times like that, I would just like to get a quick answer. And so if you're in that boat, that's fine. But if you're here watching this video and you're like, how do you come up with this stuff on your own? I'm hoping I can help answer that for you and show you a few neat tools that you could use to do that. If you're a veteran at this, unfortunately, I doubt you're going to get anything substantial out of this. But thanks for joining me anyway. So today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Mass Duel Simulator, which is a tool that will let you select a hero from this drop down here. We're going to go ahead and pick Sharena. Where's Sharena? She's here somewhere. Here somewhere. But it lets you pick a hero, and what it'll do right away, there you are, is it's going to pre-populate all their stats, starting off with at 5 stars. Not everybody is a 5-star Sharena, but we're going to go ahead and narrow our scope to that today. And then it basically lists everybody here in the game. In this case, it's including 117 heroes. That's minus the healers. And it tells you a win and loss record. So in this particular case, Sharena here has 57 wins, 26 losses, and 34 inconclusives. Now, what exactly does this mean? It's saying in in 2 rounds of combat, where the first round the challenger initiates, this is Sharena. The second round, the enemy initiates. In other words, they counterattack on their next turn on the enemy phase. Within that time span, she will win 57 of the fights against 117 heroes that are in the game as of recording this. She will lose the fight against 26 of those heroes as of recording this. And 34 of them, the opponent's still alive. Maybe Sharena has the advantage. Maybe she's 1 hit point away from death. We'll get into what could happen. What could happen with that. But don't want Google Assistant. I want Chrome to show everybody what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here. We're going to do a little bit of theory crafting here for Sharena and try to see what's going on here and how you would build out a hero. I chose Sharena because everybody has her. She has a wonderful, bubbly personality. She has a good stat line, and her thighs are exposed, which seems to be the norm for any successful hero in Fire Emblem Heroes. So that's that's why I picked her. So yeah, no, it's let's go ahead and get into this. So first thing is yeah, I already showed you guys about the turn order here. This within the dual rules, you could actually adjust this. So I just got rid of Challenger. You could go ahead and even stack this up, saying like, oh, you know what, the enemy's going to initiate 4 times. All you could do is 4 rounds in this, which in most games is a lot of fighting between one hero and another. Just for the sake of looking at it, if she does not attack the hero, but always gets attacked by them, she will kill 47 of the heroes in the game. She'll lose to 65 of them, which sort of makes sense, and 5 of them are still inconclusive. Those poor saps that just can't kill her. That's hilarious. And that she can't kill back. That's even better. So let's go ahead and take a look here at few other things. I'm going to go ahead and reset this back to what we had here. You just click on the X's and it'll get rid of that. So I'm going to hit Challenger again and go back to Challenger and Enemy. And let's come on over here. So as you see, we selected Sharena. It puts it at 5-star rarity right off the bat. It's always level 40. You cannot change what level that these heroes are operating at. But you can set a number of pluses. Obviously, Sharena's not going to get any pluses at the state in time that this game, of the game here, and as of recording, you can't get pluses on the initial heroes. You can look down here. It puts in all of her stats, and you can already see that you can set a buff, debuff, or spur bonus. The difference between buff and spur, for those of you who don't know, basically hone and fortify skills. The ones that say if you stand next to this hero and you get a bonus for the next round, those are buffs. And like buffs don't stack. If you have two heroes that have hone attack standing next to Sharena, she's only going to benefit from one set. Spur, on the other hand, those will stack. And those only get applied during combat. So that's the difference in the usage of that. So if you have two heroes right here that have spur attack on Sharena, if she moves away, she won't get the bonus. But if she stays right there in between those two, she'll get both of those bonuses, which is really nice, but of course a little more complicated to do. Alright, so we have our initial win-loss record here, which is 57 wins, 26 losses, 34 inconclusive fights. Let's go ahead and tamper around here with some things. So over here, right underneath the character portrait, you have a list of all the skills that that hero has, and it gives you the best skills that they come with for their star rankings. Since we have a 5-star Sharena here, we're going to have Fen Sailor, if that's how you say that, Speed 3, Fortified Defense 3, and of course she doesn't have anything else. Now it's not showing her assist skill here because she doesn't apply that to herself. All the assist skills go on other heroes, so there's no point in having that show here, so it doesn't show. What we are going to do, though, is let's go ahead and let's grab a special. Let's just do Astra. There we go. Astra, that's going to be what we're going to pick. It is the skill that takes 5 turns to go off, and it will do 250% damage whenever it hits. So let's take a look at her win-loss record. Looks like we have one more win. That's good. But that's strange. We had a whole special and not a lot changed. Well, here's something for you. The special charge is listed here to the right of that section, along with some other stuff that I've ignored talking to you about, but I'm sure you can pick up what those are already. The special charge shows how long it takes for that special that you have picked to charge up. So you can actually come in here and set a number of rounds that you have already had that charged, and it'll do the math for you. Now we've set this Astra to already have 5 rounds in, so it's ready to go the next time she swings. Let's see what her win-loss record is now. 95, 16, 6. Well, there you go. Now you know why it takes 5 rounds to charge that thing up. Astra has actually saved me in so many fights, even PvP fights and arena fights, on characters. I've never inherited it on anybody, so I've just done people who've already had it, like Ryoma. Never used it on Barian. Alright, so, okay, that's fun, that's cool. We see how this is sort of working now. We go ahead and adjust what we want up here. Then we come on down here and we take a look at the win-loss record. Okay, that's great. I'm going to reset this. We're going to take that off. Do 0 rounds here. You know, let's do a skill that's a lot easier to get. A lot of people really like Moonbow. We'll get into Moonbow in a moment. New Moon is the skill that leads up to it. Let's go ahead and grab that. So it's all in alphabetical order, and I don't see New Moon here. There's a reason for that. We zoom back out here on the dueling rules, there's a little section here that sort of isn't dueling rules per se. It's the configuration for the duel. The top one is show only max skills. If you uncheck that, that's going to go ahead and populate all the drop downs with all the little in-between steps. So now if you take a look here, we're going to find, oops, if I do this right, we're going to find New Moon. New Moon, New Moon. There it is. Great. So, it's adjusted the special charge from 5 to 3, 57, 26, 34. So it's as if we didn't do anything with that. So let's go ahead and just grab a skill here. Moonbow. Like I said, everybody really, really likes Moonbow. It goes off in 2 rounds. And since a lot of fights in Fire Emblem heroes, especially in PvP, tend to go really, really quick, the short charge time is something that a lot of people really look after to try to get an advantage, because then they can get that to go off more often. So we're back up to 58, 26, 33. So, you know, it doesn't look like Moonbow is helping her out that much. But we're not done with her. All right, let's come on over here. Let's just try something else. So one thing that you might want to do if you don't have a lot of heroes, if you're not really doing a lot of pulls and have like a lot of spare heroes sitting around, you might not necessarily get a choice on what skills you get to have to inherit, and you might just want to fill in slots, which is great. So this is a good way to try to find out what skill really does work best. So let's go ahead and, you know, let's go ahead and go down the list here. You know, we have Bowbreaker. I'm going to grab Bowbreaker 3. I'm always going to grab the best one for this demonstration. You can get to see what happens whenever you do that. Okay, we're up to 63, 26 losses, 28 inconclusives. Well, that's nice. You know, it's funny, though. I picked Bowbreaker, and it only affects bow users. So it's not affecting anyone else. So here's one thing to keep in mind, is that if you want to hone in specifically on a group of opponents that you're fighting, you can come up here and adjust right underneath the enemies section what enemies you are actually having, in this case Sharena, spar against. So here's one thing is that we're not expecting her to actually, oops, didn't want to click on that. We're not expecting Sharena to do good against green. She's not a green killer. So I'm going to actually deselect green. We're down to 90 heroes that we have included. Let's just come down here, and we already take a look at that. We're at 26 wins, 8 losses. So that really cut down on our losses that we've had. We got rid of a few wins. We got rid of some inconclusives. But when it comes down to it, this is a great way to hone in and try to narrow your focus on what you want. Some heroes, famously like Ryoma or Ike or others, can handle their off-color heroes just fine. But some people like Sharena, she's not meant to stand there and take hits from everybody. She's meant to be used specifically, and so this is a good way for us to sort of zoom in and try to find out what we want. So, I mean, just take a look here at what she's doing here. So that's, you know, as I mentioned before, it's 62, 8, and 20. Okay, great. Well, this is where you could go through and be like, okay, well, yeah, I want to see what other things do. Hey, Lancebreaker. Maybe she's having problems with some blues? No, not really. We can go ahead and keep on going down here. Duel. This is something to mention because over where in the dueling rules it says the start term for renewal. You might want to take a look at this for certain things. So I picked Renewal 3. I'm going to say it's going to go off at, round 1. So that increases her win ratio because she's getting the extra 10 hit points going into the next round, which is cool. And you're almost never going to get a hero in immediate combat like that anyway. And even if you do, you're probably going to throw Sharena into a fight knowing that you're not getting a healing right away. So this is a good way to basically set states for combat. Alright, let's go ahead and just, like I said, we'll take a look at a couple other things here. This is another honorable mention here, Vantage. Most heroes do okay with Vantage. You can see that she's doing just as well with Vantage as she does with everything else. Excuse me, no surprise there. The thing with Vantage is that there's very few heroes that don't benefit from Vantage. A couple really benefit from Vantage, but there's only a couple that just won't do well with Vantage. So now it's at this point. I mean, like, you could go ahead and go through stuff like this for your own list. You could take a look at the skills you have and see what you could feed into here. But it's at this point that I would like to start to evaluate a few other things. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to. I think what I'm going to do. I'll do this. One thing that I do recommend, if you switch between heroes and go to another hero, what I honestly recommend is I just refresh the entire application by going up to the URL bar and either clicking the little refresh icon that you got, or even if you're on computer, shift clicking the refresh icon. That's what I recommend. Not to talk bad about anything, I love this tool. Once in a while, I have found that some values have carried over from one session to another and has thrown off my calculations, and the interface did not show a change. So if you're switching heroes, just refresh the whole app. But otherwise, the reset button up here will go ahead and clear out most of the stuff that you're doing for that hero and reset their skills to boot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And here's another thing is that she comes equipped with speed 3, right? So let's go ahead and take a look here. I want to, for the most part, I want her to be able to handle all comers, so that she could support somebody who needs it. Basically, she's already providing a fortified defense, and her special assist skill is Rally Attack. That's a great support character. That's somebody that you could have following a Ninu or a Tharia or someone and be able to buff them, but you need to be able to handle the off characters that they can't. Now, of course, that means following Nunu is going to probably be the best, because if a fire type or a red type comes after her, you could just completely sick her on it. But let's go ahead and find a way to make her the best that she can be in this particular case. And right now, I don't think Speed 3 is doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come through here. And remember, we have all the levels of everything now. But I'm going to pick the highest of each. I'm not even going to... Well, I'm going to leave that there. You'll see why in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just come down the line here. I'm going to take a look at a couple of things. We're at 50... Whoa! Down to 53. So obviously Armor Blow is not something that we want to worry about. It seems like there's better things than Attack 3, so I'm going to be biased and go past that. Got ourselves a Darting Blow. Oh, we're up to 63, and that's great. Let's try Death Blow. What we got? We're still at 63. If you're ever suspicious that that's not recalculating, there is a calculate button right here. Auto calculate is checked for you by default, but if you're ever paranoid, just tap it a couple times. So this is Death Blow, and it was the same as Darting Blow. Let's just go down here and we'll let's check this. Try Life or Death 3. Hey, we're up to 66. That's cool. Realistically, you're not going to have Life or Death 3 because it's only available at 5 stars. So let's go ahead and pick Life and Death 2. If it was Life or Death, I know which one I'd choose all the time. So we're at 61. 61 wins, 12 losses, versus her original Speed 3. We have 56 wins and 8 losses. Well, what changed here? We keep on just tapping on these things, looking at these numbers, and that's okay, but what specifically is happening here? I'm going to go ahead and choose Life and Death 2 again now. We're back up to 61 wins, which is more wins, 12 losses, which is more losses. Who are we beating? And who are we now losing to that we weren't before? Well, there is a couple ways you can figure that out. First of all, there's I'll take this from right to left. There's a sort here. If you take a look at the list of everybody here, everybody is in this big long list here, and you could sort it by the best matchups and the worst matchups. So in the course of the best, it's basically saying like, oh, like people like Selena, May, Owen, Lloyd, they are gonna just be obliterated by Sharena here. And if you just tap or click on that particular record, it shows you what's happening. This is very uneventful. Round 1, Sharena initiates. She gets 1.4 multiplier because of weapon advantage. She deals 40 damage, and that's all she wrote on Sharena, who has 37 hit points default here. Let's go ahead and look at the worst. She could sort it by worst, and now we're at the people who she does the least, who is the least effective. She's the least effective against. You can see that Effie, in 2 rounds of combat, she attacks. Effie attacks back. We lose. Effie's left with 31 hit points. Female Cora and Zephiel. Another Sharena. No. Katria, Shauna, Karel. Karel is a hard matchup. We'll talk about him. Actually, we'll talk about him, right? No, we'll talk about him in a moment. I'm still talking to you guys about how to figure out who is and what is doing things. So now, here's one thing. I tapped on Sharena, right? If we look all the way over here to the right, the previous result says it was inconclusive. You can even see right here that it was 5 hit points versus 9. The blue is the challenger. So in other words, you had 5 hit points left. She had 9 left after you attacked her, and then on the enemy phase, she attacked you back. So, previous result of what? Well, the last thing that we picked up here was Speed 3, her default skill. Then we changed it to Life and Death 2. So now this thing, tells you what the previous matchup was. So you can even take a look and say, like, oh, well, am I doing worse with what I've selected here? So here is something that's really neat. You could go through here, or you could take a look at that and find out where things change, like Aboro. Apparently now we lose with Life and Death with Aboro. This is not as cumbersome whenever you're on a computer. We lose with her having 6 hit points left. Last time we won with us having 6 hit points left. So when it comes down to it, I mean, not everything is all completely the same. Looks like Takumi we're inconclusive on. Before we were also inconclusive. Let's go ahead and take a look at another feature. All the way up at the top here, you can view all the battles, or you could filter this by other things. So you could take a look at the wins and losses by itself without having to worry about flipping through the sort order and having everything else there. Or you could actually go ahead and go in there by who has changed sides here, so to speak. So now this is a list of everybody that used to have won against, or has flip-flopped with the change that we have made. So you can see down here, because I still have it sorted from worst to best, you can see that now we're beating May with Life and Death, and Virian, Tharia, Linda, all these people you can see over here on the far right, they were inconclusive before. We're beating Robin now. But now as we're getting up to here, and we before, and now Springla Lucinda is inconclusive. She used to be a loss for us. But now, of course, then we lost to these other 3 now with Life and Death. So this is where you get to really hone in on things and figure out, what do you want her to do? Who do you want her to actually be strong against? Do you need to be able to knock out Tharia with 1 hit with Sharena in this case? Do you need to be able to wipe out Celica with 1 hit in this case? Varian, all these other people. Is it okay that you're losing to Katria? Is it okay that you're losing to Karel? And those are some questions that I can't necessarily answer for you. No, Sharena is an island. She's going to be with other heroes. So you need to figure out how you want her to be able to handle herself. And you have to keep these limitations in mind. I'm going to zoom in here on Karel. As I started to mention before, Karel is an interesting matchup. And a couple other heroes match this too. But he's a very interesting matchup. Let's step through this real quick. So she gets 1 point. To advantage, she does a good hit on Karel. Karel retaliates for, just a little bit of damage, 10. Now he has Defiant Attack, and he also has Reprisal, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 2-charge skill that lets him take all the damage he's taken and do 30% extra back. So between the Defiant attack and the Reprisal, take a look at this hit he's walloping us with. 36 damage. Yep, there it went. But 36 damage. So that, you get to look at what is killing you in these cases. And the fact that you're doing so well against a hero like Corel, but not killing him in one round, is what's getting you killed in this particular case. Alright. So let's see here. I have some notes here. Let's go ahead and figure out what we want to do. Now, the other thing to note is that if you see this, everybody that we're losing against here, and that we changed hands with, it's taking us 2 rounds. So in other words, we are purposefully moving someone there, stopping them, and letting Sharena swing at them, and then the retaliation attack is what's killing us. So if you give Sharena backup, she should be able to take care of all these. Because if you take a look, I mean, the 20 hit points is the most that she's leaving somebody with. Everybody else is a lot lower. You should be able to have backup, especially if you're having a Ninu, go around with her. You should be able to just finish this up, even Corral. That's not a problem. So that's one thing to keep in mind, too. Let's go ahead and do the losses. Just the losses. And like I said, we're taking a look at this, and everybody she loses to is a 2-round loss. She loses to Ephraim with only 5 hit points left. 2-round loss, 2-round loss, 2-round loss, 2-round loss. All these are 2 rounds. Doesn't matter how powerful they are. So she's not being hit once by these guys and just dying. So this is actually something. This is starting to put us onto a pretty good path here for something that we want to just have a lot of strength for. Now, this is where our B skill comes into play. Before I grabbed Bowbreaker just sort of impulsively, now we can sort of hone in and say, like, okay, well, these are bad matchups. What's going to shore this up for us? Do we need to come all the way down here and grab, like, Swordbreaker that would help us out? If you do that, it looks like Zephiel is no longer a problem for us. And maybe that's a problem that you want to have an answer for. If instead you're looking at all those blues, and there are a heck of a lot of blues, we can probably find Lancebreaker here. Put that on and see if that adjusts anything for us. And you know what? Not really. It gave us a couple of better matchups in blue. We don't want to look at losses. We want to see the changed victors. So now Zephiel and Corel are a problem. We are now winning against Tsubaki, Sharena, Perry, Ketria, Shauna. If you're looking at that list and saying, like, oh yeah, those are things that are worry me, I slightly question you only because they're not very relevant in PvP. But on the other hand, if you're looking at that list and saying, like, yes, I need to have an answer to those threats, then obviously this is the way that you want to have your build. I am biased. Whenever I'm making most of my blues, I want them to be able to handle all the reds and most blues. So I'm going to go ahead and put Swordbreaker on her and let her deal with it that way. Now, here's another thing to take a look at. Fensailor. Well, let me show you another tool here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a website called FE Heroes. There it is already, /wiki. Sorry, I need to move this out of the way because my slash is here. And then you can put in any hero's name right after the slash, and it will go ahead and redirect you to their page on the wiki, which is wonderful. It's a nice shortcut. It's like, oh, well, what's going on with that hero? You can find out right away. You get their base stats, you get all their skills that they have, and that's actually why we're here. I'm scrolling all the way down here to find out what Fensailor, I don't know, does. Is that it says inflicts -4 on foes within 2 spaces through their next action at the start of each turn. So this is basically a threatened attack. Let me come on over back to the Duel Simulator. Oh, it reset me. Wow. I'm on a Nexus 9. I am sorry. This thing is getting slow. It's showing its age. Sharena. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so Fence Sailor is actually in all the 2-round fights. It's being activated. Let's go ahead and well, I mean, like it's not going to work here because it's not here. Let me go ahead and put Challenger second. 2-round fight. 2-round fight. So then, yeah, you see in the second round here, fighting in this fight against Selena, she's getting the -4 attack. Doesn't happen in the first round. Why? Because it doesn't. That's not the way a threat and skill works. But if you want to say like, well, I want to know what would happen if it was working right away, dueling rules. On the first turn, threatened skills are debuffing. You can go ahead and say, yes, it happens for both, or only the attacker or only the defender. Neither is the default because that's what would happen if you were just engaging right away in within the map. But if you have some kind of positioning or something like that you're doing, and you know it's going to happen, you can go ahead and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and say both because I want to see what happens. And you could use that to just find out how things go. As a matter of fact, you could see now the default kit, which kit is just slang for having everything default on a particular hero. The default kit gives you 63 wins now, which is pretty cool. We're also back to having all of this here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the green on, even though that was, those are habitually poor matchups for us. But you can also change your C skill that you have over here. And really, for the most part, the editor, this thing only ever has the threatens on here. Even though Fortified Defense 3 is here, the only reason why that's here is because that's what Sharena comes with. Otherwise, I mean, selecting Fortified Defense as your C skill is not going to affect your combat ability. It's going to affect other people's combat abilities. So that's why they don't bother to show any of the other stuff here. I think you can change that. Hide skills that won't affect a duel. Yep, there we go. So if you really want to see those skills, you can click here and bring all those back. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start to bring this to a close here right now. I've shown you how to use the tool, and I've shown you a good skill that I sort of value in Sharena. Let me go ahead and choose this. Yeah, Shirley Max skill. Oh, I found a nice little bug. Maybe it won't be here by the time you use this. I'm gonna. No, I want like no, not wind sweep. Who would have that? Sorry for people who out there who go, oh, I like that skill. Yes. So I'm gonna come up here. Life and Death 2. I like her being a supporting character. Last but not least, let's go ahead and just take a look at a good skill here. So, I have both selected. I want they're selected. So that brings our... Oh, wow. That ends up being advantageous to us. So there's 71 wins total out of everybody. 21 losses, 25 inconclusives. Let's pick... I think we already determined that Moonbow doesn't do anything. Let's verify that. We still at 71. No, we're up to 78. Okay, so 78's good. Another one of my favorites on somebody who just needs... I just want them to deal damage is Luna. It's 3 rounds. It's a little more powerful. Okay, it looks like Moonbow is the winner. Put that on. Alright, great. Yeah, 78, 19, and 20. We actually set to change victor. Let's tap on all. Change victor. There we go. So, switching back to Moonbow. Looks like, yeah, there's a couple people that... Oh, well, we lose to Camilla and Chersh, which are green. So, it's not somebody that I would expect her to fight. But she could take them if you gave her Luna. So that's good to know, but it takes 2 rounds. She still loses to them in 2 rounds. If we go to all the losses she has, let's take a look here and see if... she has some 1-round losses against Reinhardt. Yeah, I could see that. and she has 1 round losses against some green. Otherwise, everybody else that she loses against is one other blue, Effie. She takes care of all the reds. She's losing to just a bunch of green on 2 rounds, except for a couple that had like gem weaponry. Oh, not even Titania, who has a gem weapon. Jeez. Okay, whatever. But Arthur, some brave weaponry, and Narcian also has a gem weapon. So that's not surprising, even in the least. So yeah, once again, 78, 19, and 20 is our record here. If you wanted to mess around with a skill other than Fortify Death, you can. It'll probably give her a bit more of a heads up if you do something like Threaten Defense, and maybe she'll be able to handle a little bit more. But the thing is that she's still taking the first round to the face. So I mean, like we're still pretty much looking at the same list, except for we got rid of. No, Reinhardt's down there. He's still down there. We got rid of Effie. Is pretty much the only person of consequence on here. So I mean, if you want her to be able to tank Effie, then great, you can do it. Otherwise, let's go ahead and look at the Ancient Victors. These are people who switched sides. A bunch of people who were inconclusive. A couple of people who lost. So I mean, like it helps out, definitely, but depends on what you want to do with her. If you want her to be able to tank some of the green ones and a real tank like Effie. Here's one thing that's very nice though. Is now Kagero will lose to Sharena. Oh, and we're also doing enemy and then challenger, so that that screws things up. Let's do this. We'll go back to just lost. I'm sorry, that was a rookie mistake. Yeah, see, and so now Threaten Defense doesn't do anything because it wasn't around to be affected by it. This is why I usually don't care about threatened skills on many people, other than on slow armor or on ranged characters. A threatened skill on somebody like this, very, very, very few people might have it. But hey, that's completely up to you, and you get to justify it by going through here and looking at the win-loss ratio and messing around with turn order, trying to figure out how to actually use these heroes. The build that I have here is really a straightforward go-get-'em kind of thing, and sometimes you just need to have that reliability. But once in a while, you need to be able to play the field and have a little gimmick on somebody that's going to go ahead and affect things. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I plan to do more. I plan to at least do Alf and Anna, and we'll do more if people actually like these videos. If not, well then, by the end of that, hopefully even if you were interested but not enough other people were, you should still be able to get to see how to manipulate these enough. We'll talk about playing around position and stuff like that on the battlefield, and we will talk a little bit with Alf, and specifically with Anna, we're going to really talk about some more non-traditional kind of things that are hard to compute, like I see stats for in here, but actually still make a good character. So, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to talk to you. Until next time, see you later.